welcome back to my channel. Today I have my September budget recap. So I will link down below my September budget video. That's where I talked about, what I hope to allocate and spend throughout the month. And today we're going to be looking at what I actually spent, what I actually took home, because I did get some additional money throughout the month. We're talking about my savings rate, my mortgage payoff. We've got all sorts of fun things. So I'm going to try to leave chapters down below. I haven't been doing that for these videos, but maybe that'll be helpful. You guys will have to let me know if there are certain areas that you prefer to skip to. Okay, so we're going to start by looking at my budget itself. So like I said, we did this column together in another video. And before we actually talk about these numbers, we need to talk about the difference between my take-home income. So I budgeted for about $4,200, but I actually brought home $5,900. So we need to first talk about where that all came from. So on the back of my budget, I just write down, I call it my paycheck report, and I just write down the date, the dollar amount. I have an A or a P, which corresponds to either active or passive income. To me, active means that I had to exchange time or energy, or had to do something in order to get the money. Whereas passive, it just came to me. I didn't really have to do anything. And then I do leave a little description. So let's talk about these. The first two are my salaries. So I'm paid twice a month, and you'll notice that these are both from August. I am a month ahead. So both of these are used to pay for September. My September checks are paying for October, so on and so forth. Hopefully that's making sense to you guys how I'm handling that. But past those, on the first, I did get $1.77 from Capital One. I do have high yield savings accounts there. I also got a letter in the mail with a $5 check from an old bank that I used to have money with and since closed accounts, and they said they owed me a refund, so I got $5 there, which was pretty darn cool. Discover Cashback. I do have a Discover card, and I do use the card. There's different 5% cashback categories for each quarter. So the third quarter was all about restaurants, so I would use my Discover card if we were out to eat, and I did get $18.58 from cashback in September, which is great. I also started doing the Amazon surveys again. So I always have this linked in my description box. It's not an affiliate code or anything, it's just genuinely the link. It's called Mechanical Turk or M-Turk, and you can fill out surveys and you get paid real money. It's not like coins and points and you have to earn so many tokens to cash out. They just pay you. So I got $4.99 one week, and then I'm going to skip a line. I got $9.09 another week, which is awesome. So the line I skipped here, I live in Minnesota, and you can file to have some of your property taxes refunded to you. You have to be within certain income limits and all these stuff. But it's very easy to do. So I did finally get this check. I filed in March, and then I was audited, which is really fun. And then I got my payment. So $649, which is huge. That definitely is a nice, chunk of change to get later in the year. Okay, and then I had my YouTube AdSense. I did finally hit the $100 threshold to get payout. So $113.15, that is all because of you guys. So thank you so much for, watching my videos and commenting and all that good stuff. Then we have Betterment dividends. So Betterment, I have a Roth IRA and a taxable brokerage account through them, and it's the end of the third quarter, so it was dividend payout season. So I got $3.46. Here, my boyfriend and I split some expenses. I typically do most of the grocery shopping, shopping for the home. He doesn't even order anything online, so if he wants anything online and shipped to the house, I order it and then he pays me back. So all that throughout the month, his bill for September was $8.54. And then my Capital One cashback, this is a 1.5% card that I use for everything that doesn't fall in that special Discover category, and I earned $70.42 there. So very good month for me. I'm really happy with how that turned out. So my total income, $5,941.38. I was going to say 83 cents, but that's not right. Active and passive, you can see here, and I do calculate the percentage. So I'm really pleased to see that the things that I categorize as passive income was 26.96%. That's over, a quarter of my total income. I think that's really great. So that is where I got all the money to fulfill my budget. So let's go ahead and flip this over. Okay, so now that we know the difference in the income that I brought in, let's talk about the actual budget. So anywhere that you see a check mark means that it was exactly the same as my budget. So you'll see most of the check marks up here in the expenses section because these are just kind of like the standard bills that I have. So moving down to the first difference, grocery, I marked in green because I was below budget, so that's a positive thing. Really happy there. Gas, I was also below budget. I didn't really go anywhere, so I just topped off my gas at the beginning of the month and then didn't really have to refill it or anything like that. Spending is pretty much always over this 500. And I talk about it a lot and I kind of do get some questions about it. So like I said before, my boyfriend doesn't like order anything online. He refuses to learn how. So I do that for him. And then I just bill him for it at the end of the month. So this month I decided I was going to start writing like what his part of this was. So it was $355. He got some cologne and some like new clothes. So the total is technically $939.39, but $355 was because of him. So anyway, that's there. So yeah, all in all, the total expenses section came out to 51.18%, which I'm really pleased with. Normally I'm closer to like 65% for the expenses section. Next, we've got the funds section. So the first one, annual, a little bit higher. I do put a percentage of my YouTube paycheck into this account to help for any taxes come tax season, and also that property tax refund check, I put like 10% of that. I put like $65 in here just to help with anything there to save some. So that's a little bit higher. Vacation is also higher. I shoveled all of the excess money from areas that I was under budget to vacation. We did go to Vegas. We weren't planning to, and then plans kind of changed and we ended up going last minute. So we did go, and I also have a trip in October and a trip in November. So I want to make sure that I'm funding this kind of and beefing it up for those things. Gifts a little bit higher. I just earned some like, interest on that. Opportunity a little bit lower actually to meet the goal that I wanted to meet. So I marked it in pink because it was lower than I budgeted, but it's actually okay. And my emergency fund is a little bit higher. I planned 100, but came out with about $550. So throughout the month, I don't know, this has been like kind of weighing on me for a while, but I didn't feel like we really were ready for any sort of like emergency. And I think it's important to have emergency money, but like if we were to have a power outage where I live, like that'd be a pretty big deal because I'm pretty rural. And we're going into winter, which is probably like the most threatening type of season for where I live. Like we don't have hurricanes, we don't really get tornadoes, but we do get blizzards. And if we were to lose power in winter, I wanted to make sure we had like supplies prepared and like extra food and all that. So I did spend some money this month to kind of like get our home a little bit more prepared for the winter time. So that's not all of this went into the actual account. Some of this was actually spent, but I feel so much better, you guys. It was worth it. So all in all, the funds came out to 35.84%. So I feel really great there too. And the last category is investing. So I had Betterment, my Roth IRA, and then my HSA. You guys know I am working on like a catch-up type thing. I have a little bit of gap in what I need to put in to max this out. And I have to do it post-tax dollars, so $642.52, meaning that my investing was almost 13% this month. So really, really happy there. And I didn't end up cash flowing anything. Okay, so next I want to go through the update of my sinking funds. I like to put the balance if it's up or down, and also mark anything that I spent money on from these different categories. It helps me kind of remind myself what they're there for and all that good stuff. So first of all, annual is up. Like I said, I put in money for my YouTube taxes and 10% of that refund check I got from the state of Minnesota. Miko, down a little bit. I did purchase this cat food. My local grocery store no longer carries this cat food, and I tried to switch them over, which did not work. So I am having to kind of like drive to get his food. So when I go get his food, I buy like 4 or 5 bags at a time, and he goes through about 1.5 bag a month. So that'll last me. That's not a problem. Incidental is kind of like my cushion fund and just things come up. So the first thing, I did have to buy my fishing license for the year because we do go out fishing and ice fishing. And then I also got a car wash, which I normally don't, but I just decided to throw it there instead of in my gas category. Vacation is down a little bit. Like I said, we did go to Vegas, but still have $423 in the vacation account, which is great. Beauty, I just picked up some replacement items from Target, like lip balms. I need new nail polish, like top coat, basic things, but they come up. Gifts is up overall, but I did place my first Christmas order. I'm giving someone like an advent calendar, a pre-made beauty advent calendar, because they're into beauty stuff too. So I did purchase that. It was a pre-order, but I do like count it because I got charged for it here. Then we have opportunity, which you guys, if you've been here for a while, know that I was using this fund first to kind of fill up so that I could buy a luxury handbag. And when we went to Vegas, I was able to make that purchase, which is really exciting. So I bought a Burberry title bag. I can put a little picture on the screen. I freaking love it. It is so beautiful. I feel like it's so classic and like a timeless piece, which, if I'm going to spend a lot of money on a bag, I want to make sure it's something that I can have forever. So I'm really thrilled with that. It felt so good to be able to pay for that. I did use my credit card so I could get cash back, but then I immediately paid it off, and it felt just so good to know that I didn't have to stress about it, and I gave myself permission. I saved for it. It was awesome. Okay. Home, down a little bit. I did get some fall candles for the house, and I also restocked our medicine cabinet. I have been fighting this like respiratory cough thing, not COVID, but I don't know, allergies, and this cough thing has not been great. So I kind of blew through some of like our NyQuil and cough drops, so I did have to restock that. And then also emergency is up. I don't share how much is in my emergency fund, but like I said before, I did stock up on some gear and supplies for our family to make sure that we were prepared for, any kind of situation. Okay, so now we have our savings rate, which is where we're going to do a little bit of math together. Nothing crazy. Okay, so I calculate two different savings rates. One includes the mortgage principal that I'm paying down for my, loan, and one does not include the principal amount because there's kind of like a debate about that. So I just calculate both. And I have the formulas here, and we're going to talk through them. So the first one is the difference in like cash on hand, which is all the different funds I have. So I put in how much the total was across all my funds at the end of September, which was about $6,000. And then my August funds, which is about $8,000. So this month, and this might happen if you're calculating your savings rate, you might not always have months of positive savings rate. This is going to be a month of negative for me because I'm already in the hole here. But the important thing to know is that these funds include my sinking funds that we just went through. So a lot of this is because that opportunity fund here. And that's the point. I saved up so that I could spend it. So yeah, it's going to flush out here, but it doesn't always mean that it's bad to have a negative savings rate. It just means that there's different parts of the year that you're really aggressively saving, and there's parts of the year that you spend more. So just want to put that out there. So anyway, so this is a negative 2196, and this is going to represent letter A. B is going to be the total I have been investing. So I have two columns. The first one is the contribution, so like what's being added, and then the earnings, so any sort of dividends or interest. So I have a Roth 401k, a Roth IRA, my HSA account, GroundFloor, and Betterment taxable. So you can see the contribution to earnings in total, $1,260, which is awesome. I'm so happy that now that I'm out of credit card debt, I can put this much towards investing. That's so cool to me. Okay. C is the mortgage principal. Again, this is going to be included in one of the calculations, but not the other. And D is the total income. So this is a little bit tricky because some of these investments, like my Roth 401k, is taken out of my paycheck before I get my paycheck. It's not like I get my paycheck and then I pay into this retirement account. It happens automatically. So I need to add those things back into the total income because I'm counting it as something that I invested here. So it has to be included in the total income for my percentage to work out right. So I have my take home, which is what we looked at on the budget sheet right here. I have the Roth 401k and the HSA. I also forgot to write down, but this includes the, I did add this up here. So this includes the earnings and contribution. So my actual total income was $6,400 $430.87 for the sake of my savings rate. So I already wrote these numbers down. Let's go ahead and do some math together. So the first one is the going to include the mortgage. So hopefully you guys can see this okay. So I've got A, which is negative 2196.14, plus B, which is a positive 1260.47, and then plus C, which is that mortgage principal, 353.71. So I get a negative 581.90. Okay, so then I'm going to divide this by my total income, which is that 64307, and I'm going to multiply it by 100 to get a percentage. So I'm at negative 9.0, we'll round it up, 5%. Again, that just means that I spent more than I saved this month, which will happen. So let's do it again, but we're not going to include that mortgage principal. So I've got negative 2196.14 plus 1260.47. So I'm at a negative 935.67 divided by 643.087 times 100. So I'm at negative 14.55%. So those are the savings rate for the month. I am going to put that on my overview sheet, which is on the back side of this. All right, so here's my overview sheet. This has kind of like all the things in a snapshot. So at the top, I have that total income, percent passive and active, which we've already looked at. I also have been showing just the total of the different categories of my budget, the expenses, funds, investing. I didn't have any cash flow this month, so I don't have that line item, but I think this is helpful to see kind of at a glance. Next, I have the savings rate, which we just calculated, and I put in here. I also do calculate the year to date, so even though this month was negative for both my calculations, I'm still positive in my year to date, so I'm okay there. Total debt remains at $0, which I'm really proud of. My emergency fund, I am slowly working at. My priorities are not quite 100% there because I'm working on maxing out that HSA account first. So my emergency fund, from where I want it to be like fully funded, which would be 3 months of expenses plus $1,000 for me, is 31.12% of the way there. My net worth change, again, I keep that private, but it did increase by 2.52% this month, which is great. Always happy to see a positive. And then here I've got my mortgage balance, $146,749.71. My original mortgage was $160,000. So I've paid off 8.28%, and I own, or like the equity I have in my house is 26.62% of the original purchasing price because I did put 20% down. About some reflections. So positives of the month, I met that opportunity goal and I was able to buy the bag that I really wanted, which again, I said earlier, it just was an amazing experience. It was so satisfying. I also was under in grocery and gas, which was really good for me. And then I'm really close to maxing out that HSA catch-up amount. The negative here, I put spending slightly over, but again, I'm okay with where I was at because I know the effects that like my boyfriend has on that. Okay, October goals. I talked about this a little bit in my actual October budget video, which I can link for you. But first, I want a cash flow, setting up a trust and my power of attorney and living will and like all the boring adult things, but I think they're really important. I also want to finish contributing to my HSA. I'd like to try to keep my expense section of my budget ultimately 60% or less. That's going to be my goal. We'll see if I can do it. I'm not sure I'm going to have like as much extra income this month, so we'll see. I would like to try to have a positive savings rate since I did have a negative one this month. Like I said, it's not that big a deal, but it's a goal. And then also to stay debt free. That's kind of like a forever goal. I really would like to stay out of credit card debt and just maintain, living within my means. Okay, the last piece of my wrap-up videos includes my amortization schedule for my mortgage. So I do pay one extra payment a year, and how I do that is I take the payment amount, what's principal and interest, not the taxes and all of that, and I took that number. So for me, it's $752.28. I divided it by 12 because I pay my mortgage monthly. So I need to add at least $62.69 a month in order to make one additional payment a year. I actually am a little bit above this because my property taxes went down, and instead of like bringing more money into my budget, I just kept paying the same amount of my mortgage. So anyway, that's a whole spiel. But here's September 2021. This was the amount of principal I was scheduled to pay, which is $485. I actually paid $475.02, so almost $10 less. I was scheduled to only make a payment of $267 towards the principal, but I actually made a payment of $353.61 towards the principal, so that's awesome. And this is the balance I was supposed to be at if I wasn't paying anything extra, and this is the balance I'm actually at. So what we're going to do together is highlight off the payments that I've surpassed. So what I do is I have a color per year. So for 2021, we're green. And so 146,749 is definitely lower than 146,955. So I'm going to highlight that. 146,749 is not quite under 146,677. So I'm not going to be able to highlight a second line today, but this does snowball over time. So right now, for making the extra payments, and I should say I bought my house in May of 2018. So I've owned my house for about 3 years. So we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 months ahead on the mortgage, which I think is pretty darn good. So that is kind of the mortgage piece. It's not something that I'm like really trying to pay off super fast, but I'm trying to pay a little bit extra every time. That is going to wrap up my September budget recap overview. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know there was a lot of information here, but I really do like doing these and kind of taking the time to reflect on my finances. It's really insightful to calculate the savings rate and talk about what I've been spending money on. So if you guys enjoyed, please give it a thumbs up. That would mean a lot to me. And I'll see you guys in my next one.